Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Okay, Macintosh, Windows environments, laptops. Why you shouldn't do, let's see, video editing, 3D rendering, CGI, oh yeah, gaming, and anything else super heavy duty tasking on laptops. Why we shouldn't do this stuff. I don't care how much money you want to spend on either platform, makes no difference. These things are notorious for thermal throttling. Have you not watched enough videos yet? Maybe you should. I've watched tons of videos, both on Mac only channels, Mac PC channels, PC only, whatever. And I see the results of thermal throttling happening a lot on laptops. Okay, and some tasks really don't take a whole ton to do it. Like video editing is a major one that does chew up a lot of horsepower, especially depending on the editor you're running too, but also how complex your video gets also determines a lot of that required horsepower, required RAM. And I can honestly say that the majority of both Windows platform users and Mac users just don't buy computers with enough RAM in them. Okay, now with Apple computers, you are a slave to Apple for RAM. It is just the way it is. It's been like that since late 2015. Okay, and of course, if you ever owned a MacBook Air at any point in time, you were a slave to the RAM thing because, yep, what you got is what you got, and what you ordered is what you ordered. And the Air is one exception where they never had upgradable RAM. But they did have upgradable drives for many years in, of course, any of the laptop range. And desktops were also, for the most part, easily upgradable for drive space, especially. Some Macs, even the lower end iMacs, especially your 21s, they weren't able to be upgraded for more RAM, other than whatever you could order from the factory. But if you bought it off the shelf at Best Buy or whatever, yeah, you're kind of stuck with whatever RAM was in there. And the same thing kind of applies today, where when you shop for a computer, whatever it has under the hood, Mac or PC, at the store, that's all you get, right? You could custom order online certain brands, like, I think HP does some offerings. Dell for sure, 100%. You can customize them and blah, blah, blah. Get more powerful this or that in them. It's great, right? With Mac systems, certain Mac systems do have the ability to have more CPU power or more GPU or both. Definitely more RAM from above factory, and some machines are limited to what their capacities can go to. But either way, desktops or laptops, you're in the same boat, right? And there's always upgrades that can be done. Now, unfortunately, there's a very small percentage of people on the planetary scale, okay, that in the PC environment, because PCs are sold more so than Apple, but Apple is a different product for different people. But with the PC side, in total, there's a very minute percentage of people that actually have the ability mentally to technologically crack open a laptop, where they're afraid to even open it up a desktop even to try and upgrade stuff. They're just afraid of it. It's like they turn on the button, that's all they want to know. If it breaks down, they take it to a repair shop. Really, people got to start doing their own maintenance, because seriously, it's not that freaking hard, right? Even upgrading the RAM in something like this little puppy and the drive is not hard. It is very easy. I've actually got videos on this one, and I think another one or two kicking around on my channel. I've also done other videos too for some Mac stuff. But anyways, they're not that hard to do. But it is a shame that you're getting systems that are just garbage out of the gate, okay? This thing comes with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 from the factory. You're paying $800 Canadian for this thing, all right? It can go to a lot more drive space. You can run faster drives. Now, yes, you could put an Express 4 in here, but it's only an Express 3 slot, so don't ask for much. You're going to get Express 3 speeds, and that's it. However, you can go to a lot more RAM, and even HP doesn't tell us how much, so I kind of rolled the dice. I threw 32 gigs in there, and it has no problem. So, yeah, great. I put 64 gigs in my Asus Tough Gamer system because Asus said 32. Some other sites said 64. Mind you, Asus said that was a Thunderbolt Type-C port. Turns out it's only Type-C. Liars. Anyways, but it does have an Express 4 slot, which is nice. And I was able to upgrade the RAM to 64. It's fine. Now, I don't think I can go any higher. I might try one day. You never know. Anyhow, but with laptops, they heat up a lot. That's the problem with laptops. They all have poor cooling. It doesn't matter if it's a Mac or a PC. It's always been throughout history with both platforms forever. Laptops heat up a lot faster, doing the same tasks that a desktop won't even break a sweat on. Okay? Even same machine, spec for spec. You spec out a laptop, do the exact same specs, same hardware into the desktop's going to run faster, smoother, and definitely colder. And the chances of thermal throttling are reduced like exponentially. Okay? But laptops, they heat up a lot, and heat kills your computer. Okay? Lack of RAM, especially RAM speeds. Most manufacturers don't even put in proper speed RAM. HP did, surprisingly enough. Even Asus, they actually put in the lower RAM because it can handle 4500 megahertz, but it can run 4500 megahertz right down, which is kind of nice, to the lowest DDR4 speed. So that's kind of a nice little benefit of the Asus. But regardless of all that, you've got to get rid of the bottlenecks. Your fastest speed your processor runs at should be the same for your RAM. Your RAM should run at that speed or as close as possible that you can get it to that speed to either eliminate or reduce the bottleneck, okay, for stuff going back and forth. Because this is also going to help it to make it run a lot cooler and more efficient. But at the same time, it only helps it, doesn't prevent it, okay? But it does help, and it does help your computer perform better when you have adequate speed of RAM to your processor, etc. And same as your drive, the faster the drive that your computer can handle, the better it's going to be for you as well. Even for video editing, export times, your 3D rendering, whatever kind of rendering period you're doing, any extra animation you're going to do, going to flow a lot better even on playback before you export. It's going to be so much better if you have what you need under the hood to accomplish that task. But no matter what you do, laptops are still going to thermal throttle a lot, okay? So laptops should actually be doing either low end to maybe mid-tier type of stuff, depending on the laptop you're working with, because they're all spec'd differently, obviously. The Apple Silicon chips, they seem to just be on a steroid kick in everything except when it comes to gaming, because gaming is still something that it's not new to Apple. Apple's been doing gaming forever, okay? I mean, as long as computers have been invented, Apple's been doing it, right? But when it comes to the high performance gaming, the only way you could accomplish that on a Mac was to actually have a high-end Mac, like a iMac Pro 27-inch, or you had a Mac Pro, which is ludicrous because very few people in the world actually buy the Mac Pro. It's for a very niche, specialized group of people that need that particular computer. However, regardless of that fact, you needed that kind of a machine in order to run Windows on it to run those games that your Windows buddies were running that you couldn't otherwise run. Because, you know, even all Macs ran Boot Camp with Windows. Not all of them were effective. Like even this little old Mac here, this thing I think goes to Windows 8. I think, if I remember right, 7 or 8. But either way, this runs Boot Camp with Windows. It's an Intel Mac, right? And all the Intel Macs could do it. So you could play some pretty cool games for Windows that either weren't made for Apple, or they just, you know, maybe the Apple version didn't work as well, but the PC version did. Because it seems that whenever we ran Windows on our Macs actually performed really well under Windows. They were just exceedingly better and faster in that sense. Now, output product quality, mind you, sucks donk on a Windows computer, so if you want to do video editing and graphics and stuff like that, you do that on the Mac, okay, because they're second to none anywhere in the planet. Apple does rule the hen house in many areas. One of them is not gaming, but that is getting closer and closer now to becoming a reality where Apple is going to be the leader, at least for a long time, because as Windows transitions into ARM chips, this is going to take a while for them to mature enough that they're going to have some ARM chips that are actually comparable to even the M1s. And right now, they're not even coming close to an M1 with their ARM stuff. It's very pathetic. And so this is going to take a while. So you don't have to worry about your x86 systems at least going obsolete anytime soon. But on the other side of the fence, do you? That kind of is up to Microsoft on how they do things. But I know they're good for supporting an OS for a long time, and that's fine. But they will eventually write an operating system that will only install and run on a Windows ARM processor, and that's it. Okay, there will be no way to hack it to go to x86 machines. And Apple is probably going to do the same thing. There's only so much support left now for Intel Macs of the last ones that were built in 2020. Once those have been extinguished, then you can probably bet your money Apple will write only operating systems from that point in time that will only install on Apple Silicon and run on Apple Silicon, and that's all there is to it. So that kind of leaves things in limbo right now. But when it comes to the laptops, though, what I see on PCs and on Macs are the same problems, and that's thermal throttling. Even on the high-end Mac laptops, I see them thermal throttling, doing the same job that even a lowly little Mac Mini can do and not even break a sweat. It comes nowhere near thermal throttling doing the same task that already your glorious or expensive Mac Pro 14 or 16 inches going, I'm dying here, I'm in the tropics. No, you're not in tropics, you're actually in the pits of hell right there. Brimstone and fire right there. We're over the edge. And the fans can only do so much in a laptop. Okay? They're not going to prevent the thermal throttling. It's not going to happen. They can prolong it. I mean, if you're smart about it, what I can do is I can give you a couple of helpful tips in this video. One of which is if you are a Mac user, get a program called Max Fan Speed Control. Run your fans 80% speed at all times, no matter what you're doing. Okay? So this way when you do a heavier duty task, that system is plenty cooled and it can keep up to the cooling so that it would definitely prevent, in some cases, of thermal throttling to occur, but in other cases it will prolong it, not prevent it, but it could actually give you just that extra edge that by the time it clips into thermal throttling, you may not have any issues at your end product, at least with anything that's movie related. Because what happens is frames can drop, stuttering can happen, frames fall out of sync with the audio. This sort of stuff can happen very commonly when you're thermal throttling your computer on either platform. And so the cooler you can keep your system, the better. Unfortunately, with Mac systems, no matter which one it is, even new systems, you have no cooling vents underneath. You only have where the cooling exits in the back of the computer from the fans. That's it. So it's like, where's the intake for cool air coming from? You know, like, how do we get that there? With PCs, they're built a little different, other than the fact that they're pieces of plastic garbage. They have at least vents underneath that will allow the drawing in of air and be able to push it back out and keep things on a constant flow in and out much better because of the venting. And I have a lot of extra venting on my Asus than I do have on this because it is a gamer system. But even that system, it can thermal throttle in certain games, especially Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is probably the most challenging, raunchiest game I'm aware of right now in the AAA world. There may be more out there, but I don't know. But I know how demanding Cyberpunk is, even on my computer. And those fans are like racing at over 5,000 RPM each. Okay, CPU, GPU, plus I've got 3 cooling fans on the pad that are going at full bore all the time. And it's like, it's just barely keeping it like in the 90s, you know what I mean? But I also pre-cool the system ahead of time with the pad. I'll fire that up for a while and let it cool the system really good, and then fire it up, and automatically it's going to be like, 40, 50 degrees initially, But as things start to get going and stuff, and I do stuff, yeah, the temperature's raised. It's a gaming system. It is made to run hotter, yes, but it shouldn't be running quite as hot. So, but at least I can keep it away. For the most part, I can keep it away from thermal throttling. But when it comes to video editing, all bets are off, man. It throttles, and there's nothing I can do, right? It's just the nature of that stuff where laptops thermal throttle more. But that's not the only problem you're going to have. The other problems you're going to have is premature breakdown of parts in your laptop because of the constant overheat that happens all the time in laptops. It's very common for them, right? And then it gets to the very final phase of why we shouldn't be doing this stuff on laptops is because of that excessive heat also gets at the battery. Now, whether you're running a lithium ion or a lithium polymer battery in your computer, these things don't like heat. No battery does. In fact, batteries, the hotter they get, the weaker they get, and faster too. You'll notice that if you're trying to shoot a 4K video on your phone, how fast your battery drops. It's not because you got a crappy battery. It's because that phone and that resolution of video you're trying to shoot is just chewing it because it needs the horsepower from the entire phone in order to pull this off. And yeah, it can smoke your battery to nothing in no time, So yeah, it's not that it's a crummy battery. It's just that's the nature of, shooting 4K footage. It's kind of like a DSLR has protection built in. My DSLR at 4K or 1080p, doesn't matter, even a 720p, it has a protection circuit in it that prevents me from recording more than 29 minutes and 59 seconds of video. It drives me freaking nuts. And there's no way I can bypass it on my particular DSLR, right? Because it's like, I'm sitting here, I can stay here all day on my iPhone because it's tethered, so it's tethered to my computer, which means glitch free too. Or I can go wireless to my computer, doesn't matter. But when I'm tethered, it's going to keep the charge power up. I'm still dropping power, but very minuscule, okay? So, that's the thing, right? Like, things heat up, batteries get drained, no matter what. Even my iPhone is getting warm shooting 1080p tethered to my computer as a camera, right? But I get a great picture, so I can't complain, So I kind of sit back and go, well, if the phone's getting hot, the battery's getting hot, my health is getting compromised because of the heat to the battery. Heat kills batteries. That's why you don't recharge your phone when it's hot. You wait till it cools off, then you recharge it. Otherwise, you compromise the battery. You reduce its life cycles. You reduce its health status because you're trying to force energy into a hot battery. It doesn't like it, and your laptop certainly doesn't either. Your laptop's except it's going to take a few hours for your battery in your laptop to cool off, because even though you're running plugged in and your battery may be fully charged when you start up, that battery is still getting heated up, okay? But at least it's not taking in a charge, it's not being pulled. There's a good point there, but then you still have the excessive heat, which is bad for the battery and is reducing its life. When you run on battery power on a Mac, no performance drop. Not in today's Macs anyway. Okay? In PCs, there's still always a performance drop. My Asus takes a 75% hit in performance when I'm on battery power. That really sucks, by the way. You should try playing even, a game like Far Cry. It was like flawless, glitch-free, fart-free, no problems whatsoever, plugged in. I pull the power, bleh, everything slows down. FPS went from 600 down to about 80. You know what I mean? It's like, holy cow, that's a hit. You know what I mean? And this is notorious. This is the PC world, right? That's what it does. And there's no escaping it until they go to ARM. Once ARM is actually set up properly on PCs, they'll be just as efficient as Mac computers are now, okay? Which will be great, especially for the PC world. Now, there are PCs that can have exceptionally long runtime too right now. Even this thing, my little HP, it gets 7 to 9 hours on the battery. It's not a high-performance machine, doesn't draw a lot of power in comparison to my gamer laptop, So yeah, and if I try doing some heavy-duty tasking, I can definitely reduce that runtime substantially, sure. But I don't do heavy duty stuff on this because it can't handle it anyways. You know, so these are reasons why we shouldn't be using laptops for all these heavy duty taskings. But if we keep them light to medium, we should never see any thermal throttling happen. We should see better life out of our batteries. And if we keep our gaming down to, low to mid level stuff on our laptops, we'll still have a better experience. Even though the laptop is capable of more, we should be watching what we're doing because we are only damaging the things when we're, making them run super hot all the time. Desktops are better machines suited for heavy duty tasking. That's why they call them desktops. They run colder, they run better. They can be upgraded to go even faster and have more of everything that a laptop can't have. But not everybody wants a desktop anymore, which is kind of sad on one sense and I guess not so sad on the other. It kind of depends, I guess. But I know a lot of Mac people switch to laptops because they got the portable world and they set them up like a desktop. But are they really in a desktop area? No, because the desktops are still going to run far better than the laptop anyways, because the desktop's going to run cold, the laptop's going to be on fire. So, I mean, seriously, what are you gaining here? Not much, right? But it is to each your own. Whatever you want to do is up to you. But these are just some of the reasons why we should not actually be doing this stuff on laptops. But do what you want. I don't care what you do. I mean, I'm still not going to give up on laptops myself for gaming because I do have a buddy I game with and I need that portability. And at home, I have it set up on my desk. I have it plugged into my 4K monitor so that I can switch between my Mac and my PC. I set my Mac up to do a job, push the button, flick the switch. Here we go. Boom, PC. My keyboard and mouse are shared with it as well because I have Logitech stuff. And I can go ahead and play my games while my Mac is doing another job. Works for me, but I also don't do any of the heavy duty tasking. I mainly just do gaming on my laptop. And at that, like I said, my hardest core game that's hardest on that thing is Cyberpunk. I don't play it that often. I play other games that are not as hard on it. And that seems to keep it behaving. And I'll get a lot more longevity out of my system that way too. And I always leave it plugged in. I don't even run battery power when I'm with my buddy because to take that kind of a performance drop on battery, it's not even worth it for an hour and a half of gameplay and my battery's dead. That's pathetic. But so there are some major drawbacks there, which I'm hoping someday the PC world actually resolves because gaming laptops, as powerful as they are, we have very powerful Mac laptops that are now able to do AAA gaming, and we're still getting all day on the frickin' battery, even gaming. So, I mean, well, I'm probably not all day on gaming, but, a lot of our tasks, we can run them pretty much all freaking day and no performance hits. So that's kind of a benefit that way. But I don't know. To each their own, I always say. I'm just the messenger, just my experience, testing I've done, and the results I've found. Also, watched a lot of videos too, found out a lot of things, compared notes with my own equipment. Yep, definitely. These are some issues here. So, thought we'd do a specific video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and definitely catch you on the next one. Alright? See ya.